Vince. They're really cracking down on safety belts these days.
What's up, officer?
I'm giving you a ticket for committing an 811.
Safety belt violation.
Compliments of Barney Fife.
We never wear safety belts. We're dummies.
Weisenheimers.
He gave us a ticket.
Man's got to do what he's got to do.
Welcome to today's show. I'm Mike Miller. Thanks for tuning in for this edition of Lancaster Perspective. My special guest today, Lancaster City Councilman Tom Stoughton. Tom is also the chairman of the Finance Committee. Welcome, Tom.
Good morning, Mike.
Well, I did have a lot of questions. I did do a lot of homework, but this week there's been some news that was announced by the mayor in regards to the budget shortfall.
Yeah, so it probably messed up your script.
That's fine. That's okay.
No, at this week's council meeting, the mayor read a statement regarding the budget shortfall for 2011 and the budget shortfall for 2012, and specifically he was asked by council to deliver to the voters what the proposed income tax would generate or what it would be used for, but he would have to basically say what we would not be able to fund if we didn't pass a income tax levy going forward effective January 1st. Because of our income tax situation, we kind of have grim news for this year, to the point where we right now are $1.2 million behind where we expected to be, which is going to require layoffs effective October the 1st, and they're pretty significant. We're talking in numbers in excess of 30. So a lot of the detail is fluid right now, but the net effect is we need to balance the budget by the end of the year as required by the Ohio Revised Code, and then ultimately have a balanced budget next year.
And I know that we talked about layoffs and elimination of positions. There were 44 that had already been eliminated, retirements and whatever it might be, and there's going to be 35 more.
Right.
It looks like each department has taken a pretty good hit.
Well, certainly they've taken a hit in the past, and they've also taken they're now taking a hit again this go round. When Mayor Smith came in, I give him a lot of credit. He did a lot of consolidation of departments. He eliminated the electrical department, basically vacated any open positions there, redeployed all the resources from that department. A couple have since retired, which I think was part of the plan, but in all told, it was a move to do a little cost savings. He also consolidated cemeteries with LDOT, so we would have all the really kind of the public works or public services under one umbrella. Again, eliminating a superintendent position, again saving the city some money. So when he first came in, he was very good at consolidating, and the last 3 budget cycles and the one coming up, we've had to eliminate positions to be able to balance the budget.
And a lot of this, the reductions have come from cuts at the state level, cuts at the federal level that affected, and we talked earlier off air about it's coming down to local communities are going to have to make do.
Yeah, you're exactly right. I mean, obviously the federal government is a mess. This week we've seen a significant drop in the stock market, a drop in our credit rating. Governor Kasich came in without raising taxes, basically balanced the budget, but again, that's squarely on the back of the local communities. Mr. Hedges, Councilman Hedges, read his opinion the other night at council, specifically saying that the day of depending on a handout from the federal or state government are over. I mean, they're balancing their budget as best they can without raising taxes, and they've basically put the burden at the local level, which Bob points out, and I tend to agree. That's an awesome responsibility for us as a taxpayer to be able to determine what services and what type of town we like to have.
And these are going to take effect the last quarter of 2011 and into 2012.
For certain, we will, based on the mayor's position, and council concurred with that in an executive session prior to the regular council meeting. We concur with this, and this will effectively be put into place for an implementation of October the 1st. When you have folks under a bargaining unit, certainly it takes a little longer to determine what the process is. There's a bid process for folks that can move around from different job areas, so it's going to take some while logistically for them to figure out who is actually going to be impacted by this move.
You've been on council 3-4 terms now?
It's my fourth term.
This will be your fourth term. Finance chairman, 3 terms? Anyway.
I've been finance chairman for 5 years, so 2.5 terms.
2.5 terms.
Mm-hmm.
And sitting on that side of the fence for a number of years, I know you, and I know how you have a love for the city. You had to see this coming. I mean, I know you and I talked a couple years ago about, gee, if we don't do something, this is going to happen.
Well, again, it became very evident in 2009, and I'm a rather loud advocate for controls and limited spending, and I'd much rather save $10,000 than spend it in the city's coffers, because you never know really what's going to happen. You could have an unfunded mandate come down from the state or the federal level, and you have no money to pay for it. And I'll give you a perfect example. We have a mandate called it's called Narrowbanding Rule 25, and basically what that means is the federal government has required us on the frequencies we use to communicate, we have to cut the bandwidth in half. Well, all of our equipment is not narrowband equipment. All of our repeaters are not narrowband repeaters. So at some point before January 1st, 2013, we're going to have a significant exposure, $500,000, $750,000, just for new equipment and deployment. So again, unfunded mandate comes down from the federal government. There is no funding mechanism that goes with that. The stimulus is done. I don't anticipate this Congress basically letting any more money go into the into the public or private sector to stimulate any type of growth at this point in time, because our debt is too high. So we are now staring at a big expense next year on top of the budget crisis that we have. So again, it's a case of things flowing right downhill to the local level, and we have to, by law, have a balanced budget. And by doing that, then it requires us to make the significant cuts that you read about this week in the paper.
We're talking with Tom Stoughton, the City Council Finance Chairman for Lancaster City Council. I know the other 2 things that came up to try and offset this, 2 tax levies.
Right. The first one is an income tax levy. That's 0.25%. It's a 5-year temporary levy. I would have been more apt to go for permanent, but
Why permanent?
Well, permanent because things are only going to get more expensive. People get more expensive. I don't anticipate us ever being to the point where we ever get any local governments from the state, local government funds from the state level. So I think they'll continue to eliminate those paybacks to us. Again, the handout from the state level.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it would put us in a better position to be able to offset that. Now, having a 5-year temporary tax to raise that income, I think it gives us a perfect opportunity to prove to the voters that we are going to basically be fiscally responsible with the money and give you exactly what we tell you we're going to give you for that. We have a serious crime problem in the city. We have a serious drug problem, and we have a special unit that we've put on the street using a COPS grant that we are going to now have to vacate, and we're going to have to take those particular officers off the street. We have made some serious inroads in the last 3 or 4 months with this drug problem, and now we're going to go back, take a significant step back. So, what town do we want to live in? We have to determine what that is. The second levy is the street levy, and this is a product of the Citizens Advisory Committee put together by President Culver.
I do want to note that we do have the bridge fixed on Columbus Street. You can drive on Columbus Street.
Yeah, you can drive. Well, actually, you can't because they had the intersection shut down at Avondale today. But I digress. But the Citizen Advisory Committee that President Culver put together to look at take a citizen's view of the city. determined that we weren't wasting money, we weren't spending money recklessly in places we shouldn't be spending them, and one of their recommendations is we needed to go to the property owners and say, look, folks, do you want to have your property values to continue to decline because you have a deteriorating infrastructure in which the street in which your house is located? So through a lot of discussion, we determined whether we would put an income tax levy on for streets or a property tax levy. We approved last night. Actually, both measures passed this past week at council by unanimous consent to put this on the ballot. Again, the street is a 10-year, 2.9 mil levy that will basically allow us to take our street infrastructure that sits today and significantly enhance and improve it to the point where 10 years from now we may not need to ask for $2 million or be able to generate $2 million a year, which is what that levy would generate. We would probably go back for something less, but we would have to prove after 10 years, we did exactly what we said we would do. We would, we're going to fix these streets, we're going to make these improvements, and ensure that our street infrastructure is where it should be.
From when you started until now, do you think the general public has a increased trust in government officials or lesser trust? Or?
I think they have no trust in government officials. I'll be honest with you. A small fraction does, but I mean, I haven't run into a taxpayer that wants to pay another nickel because they can't afford it. I mean, let's face it. Everyone is feeling the pinch of this economy, and I don't, whether you're employed or unemployed. I mean, you're being affected. A lot of folks not getting raises. They're taking pay cuts. Health insurance is going up. Medicine is more expensive. Groceries are more expensive. Cost of gasoline is expensive. All the things that you need to survive and live are rising in prices. And now your government comes back at you and asks you for more money. We've got there'll be 4 total issues on the ballot for to be considered. The 2 city issues, certainly the parks levy for the county parks, which honestly I think is a very important levy, and then also the school levy. To be able to take 35% match from the state to be able to improve our schools, all of which currently today are over 50 years old. A significant investment in infrastructure. And my daughter's a senior in high school, and my other daughter's out of high school. And I could say, I've paid my time and done my dues. But I remember as a kid growing up in this town, and I rode my bike over every road, and we biked everywhere. And but I can tell you that if it were not for the extracurriculars that I had in my school building and the good education that I got here, I wouldn't be a successful person that I am today. I mean, those extracurriculars were important, and my parents didn't have to pay for pay-to-play fees and all sorts of things that they have to go through now. I mean, my goodness, every sport is doing their own fundraising on top of whatever else they have to do. They preparing their own fields or planning their own transportation. So I know that when I go to the ballot, I'm investing in this community that other kids are going to, other kids and other residents are going to see a lot of the benefit from way down the road.
Some of the reaction you've gotten, do you talk to other cities and how are they getting through things and cities our size?
Certainly. We have a close relationship with the folks over at Newark. We communicate really as kind of council members. We kind of through the Ohio Municipal League, we have relationships with other councils, and there's a person in Reynoldsburg and one in Newark that I will occasionally share information back and forth with. Reynoldsburg, for example, is going after a 1% income tax increase. And they have done a very poor job, in my opinion, of defining what they're going to get for that 1%. So in that case, you had 2 members of their council voted no. You can't tell me what we're going to get.
Right.
Or give up if we don't have this particular money. So that's why our levy had to be very specific and say, we came forward and said, this is the impact of not having more money. Unfortunately, it affects us in the last quarter of 2011, but no question, the $2.5 million shortfall in 2012 is exactly what this levy will bring in and offset those costs.
And some of the areas that obviously it looks like firefighters are getting hit pretty hard.
They are.
In this police, it looks like a reduction in 6 positions, but firefighters seem to be getting hit pretty hard.
Well, 72% of the general fund is consumed by police and fire, and And I can assure you, you look at all the other positions that we talked about are all singular positions. Well, you're talking about departments of 2, 3, 4, 5 people, and you're taking a position out of there. And then you talk about fire, which is at about I think they were at 80 or 79 or 80 people total. So you're taking a quarter of their department away. But again, if you take away a quarter of a 4-person department, that's 1 person. Police, I think there was a mindful. I don't know the thought process, but as I see how this was constructed by the mayor and the service safety director, I mean, they have to do fire by crews, and they have to figure out what apparatus they're going to run. So their determinant is they're going to reduce 1 medic. And reduce one I think fire apparatus, which will then free up 20 folks, and then they're also going to reduce the medic staff from 3 to 2, which was a recommendation of the arbitrator that we had last February when we went to arbitration with the fire department, and so they indicated then 2 was the norm, and actually that seems to be the norm in 90% of all municipalities. You run with 2. We had always run with 3.
And as people begin to realize that, gee, we're cutting all these departments, it's going to cut the service of the city. I mean,
no question.
Not only police and fire, but all the other services that we have.
No question, and it's going to. I mean, there's impacts there to LDOT, which LDOT is basically snow plowing. They fix streets with part of their general fund allocation. IT department will be pretty much working on break fixes versus any new rollout of new IT technology across the city. Engineering and certified billing. Again, we're going to have to rely more on third party to do plan review and other services that come out of that department. Having it on staff allows for a quicker turnaround for builders and construction companies to get things done here in the city. But it's going to put us in a position where we're going to have to outsource a lot of what we do.
At one time, there was a gas tax. Gasoline tax, gasoline revenue.
Oh, yeah.
Whatever happened to that? Whatever. I mean,
you're talking about the state gas tax, which
right.
is we do get a refund from the state of Ohio, and that money is to be used specifically for state highways. For
which we have 5 highways that come through.
We have 5 of them, and we have I don't know. I think I want to say 14, 15 miles of highways that come through here, and so that money is dedicated to either repaving, plowing, snowing, whatever maintenance we do on that, as well as projects that come through here. For example, they're going to do State Route 22 from Corp Line to Corp Line here in 2014. We can use that money as our match money to get that project done, but we are on the hook when they choose to do that to actually pay for it. So, we can't just. It's not like we take that money and immediately throw it in the general fund and spend it. We can't do that. It's in a special revenue fund controlled by LDOT and used for specific purposes defined by the Ohio Revised Code. So we're still collecting that, along with the license plate fee.
Along with the license plate fee.
I saw the gears turning.
Yeah, I was trying to think. Yeah, it's well, I know that it's a tough position to be in, and I know that you working with city council, because we haven't. See, is this the 2nd year for city council?
Yes.
The new city council?
Yes.
Right. So, reactions from some of those people that have been there that we have to do it, or there's nothing we can do, or.
Well, it's interesting. I mean, for the new folks, and I think we have a couple or 3 of those folks sitting around the table. I mean, might have been the toughest decisions they've ever had to make. For the seasoned folks sitting around the table, and I'll just share, Rudy Tubble. Rudy is a former firefighter, and here's a guy that understands that there is no money. He understands we have a crime problem. So in a perfect world, you would cut police and fire equally. But we can't ignore the crime problem that we have now, so hence it's a little heavier at this point in time on fire than it is on police. But Rudy Tubble, former firefighter, you think he would be, all fire brethren, but he as he said last night, I was elected by the residents to make the best decision in the interest of the city, and this is the right thing to do right now.
One of the areas that we talk a little bit about, and I know Mike Pett has done a great job in economic development, but when we start looking at our roads need fixed, our schools need fixed, developers are starting to say, well, I'm not sure, is that where we want to go? And this is going to be something that's going to happen, down the road, because economic development takes a long time. I mean, it's not pick up the phone, yeah, we'll be there tomorrow.
It's interesting. If I had a nickel for every time I read or heard that the mayor and the council need to bring jobs to good paying manufacturing jobs to Lancaster, and if we had the ability to do that, we would do that. We would have done that each of the last 8 years I sat behind that desk. Unfortunately, there are the fewer manufacturing jobs here in the United States. Of course, many went offshore to China. And for those jobs that are manufacturing and they are looking for a place to call home, I can tell you that Mike Pettit and the Economic Development Director, as well as the 33 Alliance team, there's all sorts of teams he has working with the state and federal government to get somebody located here. I mean, a tremendous amount of work, and if I had a nickel for every time we finished second instead of first, I'd have a lot of nickels in my pocket. Well, second doesn't bring 300 manufacturing jobs. It doesn't bring a U.S. corrugated here, and it's a very tough thing. We took a lot of criticism from the electorate when we brought Walmart, and basically we did a TIF, and what that tax incremental financing, and the thought in the community is Walmart's not paying their taxes. And that's not true. They're paying every property tax they're supposed to pay. All of the property tax money, most of it anyway, is going in to pay for the infrastructure we had to put in place to make that development what it is today. So again, it's understanding what we're doing. But again, we catch heat for that. But by the same token, if we don't offer TIFs or other tax incentives, tax abatements, then companies aren't going to commit to Lancaster. Every community is using whatever tool and resource and any deal that they can make to get these types of jobs in their town.
In a perfect environment, we have budgets and balanced budgets and all those things. What would Tom Stoughton like to see in Lancaster? I mean, what would he like to see here?
It's interesting. I had a thought this morning, and I got to tell you that. I haven't slept well. I mean, I got some indication on this Saturday morning in an executive session, and I don't sleep well because I don't take this lightly. And these are 30 families that are going to be impacted, and I can't tell you that the concern I have that response times will be less. Crime potentially could start going in the wrong direction again. And as I was driving down Fifth Avenue past my mother's house this morning, I'm thinking, how can we basically create neighborhood crime watch? I know we have some of them, but how do we publicly go out and do that? And I think that's a question I'm going to go ask Chief Bailey at some point in time, where what I would like to see is this community rally around itself. We've been, for the most part, abandoned by the state government, abandoned by the federal government, not because they wanted to, but because they had to. All right? And understanding, really, at the end of the day, the state government money and the federal money is still our money, okay, as taxpayers. All of us pay them. We get them back in different pieces. But I want this community to rally around itself and realize that we have the choices to make to whether we have good streets, good schools, good safety services, and our thought in a good, clean city. And that's the vision that I want for Lancaster, and it's a hard place getting there, but we have a choice on the ballot to determine if we want to start that process or not, because we now know we're not going to have, I'll call him Big Brother usually, we don't have the state and the federal government standing there with a handout anymore, and as Bob Hedges, and I give him a lot of credit for saying it last night, we don't ever want to become dependent on the dole anymore.
And the two tax levies that are going to come up, particularly for the city, we've got a couple other ones, but contact you, come to City Council. If people have questions, what's the easiest way to try to get more information? I know they're rolling out there now. But
contact me. All of our email addresses are on the city website. Come to council, express your concern. There's a voters and taxpayers segment, and I know you doing public speaking for some folks isn't the easiest thing to do. Pick up the telephone and call your councilman. You'd be surprised. I get interesting phone calls weekly. I like to hear folks' opinion. Sometimes they may not understand what exactly it means. A lot of people today. I was reading the blog on the Gazette this week, and regards to the announcement of layoffs. And why can't you just take people out of gas and water and those departments? Well, instead of police and fire, and the understanding people don't understand that police and fire and the administration, the engineering and IT is really your general focus. fund, and all the other departments are run by the utility
Right.
fees that are collected by those services that are provided to residents. We can't take this pot of money and put it over here in the general fund. If we could just raise utility fees and have all the money we need. So they don't understand that piece of it. So in having the communication and dialogue with the residents, I can help explain that away. And a lot of times I hear, well, wow, I didn't really know that. Thanks for explaining it to me. The one thing I said last night as I was finishing my my position on the income tax is I will sit down with anybody, anytime, anywhere, answer any question, print you anything, and show anybody anything they want to see about the city finances. I am that confident that I can help them understand it. They may not like what they see, but at the end of the day, as finance chairman, I took that role very, very seriously to the point where I need to know the ins and outs of that budget.
One of the areas that, and we're getting a little short on time, but carryover. People always talk about, oh, we got plenty of carryover. There's carryover. Didn't have that much.
Well, we carried over $2.1 million this year. We've already eaten $600,000 of it up. It leaves it at $1.5 million, which is exactly where it needs to be on January the 1st.
Mm-hmm.
So we have no more money there. And considering we've lost money 6 out of 7 months in income tax revenue this year alone, I'm not confident we're going to make more revenue up on the income tax. The carryover is money you need in January and February because you don't get revenue into the cities doesn't come
Right.
all in January, and here's all your money to spend. It comes in as it's collected and then also passed through. So the carryover is basically our cash to be able to run our city. So you can't spend that money or you'll have no money to spend.
Right. And income tax revenue right now is down.
It is down. It is down all told, I think, about 6%, but the real areas where they are down are the 2 areas of economic recovery.
Mm-hmm.
Typically, those are individual taxpayers and entrepreneurs, as well as business taxes, small business taxes, and those are down significantly. Those are down 9% and 27% collectively.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, Tom, we appreciate you coming on. I know you got a busy schedule, and we do appreciate it. Before you go, though, Michigan?
Yes.
Tom is a big Michigan fan. What's the outlook for Michigan this year?
Well, we have a good coach that is putting in some discipline and some rules, and I like that. I think you'll see them play. Offensively, they'll score points. The question is, will we ever be able to stop somebody? But we do have a good defensive coordinator. We have an awesome recruiting class coming in 2012. I don't know how competitive we're going to be with the really, really good teams this year, but in 2012, I think we'll be in a much better place. But, I see that sometime in the next 700 days that we will finally beat Ohio State.
Pick to win the Big Ten?
My pick to win to win the Big Ten? Wow. I think Nebraska's pretty good. And that's in the Michigan division. And the other division, I don't really know.
Yeah.
I don't think it's Ohio State. I think Ohio State has too much turmoil this year, too much change. I think they'll be wrought with emotion at the start of the season, but that won't carry you through the bruising Big Ten season. And I think that their quarterback position will be a little suspect, and they've got a couple other areas. And even you will miss the head coaching and the boring nature of Jim Tressel's offense and
the
defense.
best.
But the fact is, they won.
Yeah, you're right. Absolutely. Still doing football, still officiating football. How long have you been doing that? 20?
Well, this will be my 32nd year of
30?
officiating, 27th of football.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's kind of a big deal, and we're getting excited about that as we do. I work to the same crew for all the 10 weeks of the regular season, and then hopefully we all get playoff assignments and head across the state in different directions. But it is, I will tell you, I have so much fun driving there. Way more fun driving home, and we have an awful lot of fun while we're on the field. So it's one way to stay near and dear to a game that I enjoyed playing as a high school athlete, and really nothing more than to see that true smile on the face of an athlete when they've done something really, really, really good.
Well, Tom, we appreciate you coming in, give us an update on Lancaster City Council budget information, and best of luck. I know tough decisions, but it's good having guys like you in those positions.
Well, it's a lot of hard work, but you know what? We'll get through this. There will be a better day.
Thanks for tuning in on today's edition of Lancaster Perspective. I'm Mike Miller. Remember, until we meet again, let's make a difference.
Hi, can't say enough of how this center influenced me and the benefits that my wife got from it. I thought, nobody can take care of her like me, and I knew I had to do something for my family. It's in their hearts that they want to provide the care for the people that deserve it here.